Hello, Idaho, and welcome back once again to our STEM Matters Week of Virtual Celebration. Our Idaho economy is boosted by efforts in STEM education and workforce development, and today we are so excited to jump into a discussion about some different initiatives and efforts being made to boost the profile of STEM in Idaho's economy. In order to engage in this topic, we are joined by two people. Up first, we have the Executive Director of the Idaho Workforce Development Council, Wendi Secrist. Wendi, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Crispin. Thank you.
Yeah, and we are also joined by the Broadband Development Manager for Idaho Commerce, Eric Forsch. Eric, how are you?
Great, Crispin. Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. We are so excited to have the two of you here. Wendi, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in the organization you work for.
Sure. So I have been the Executive Director of the Idaho Workforce Development Council for the last 3 years. I've been involved in economic development, workforce development, community development for most of my career, but I always like to tell people that I'm an example of career planning gone awry, because my bachelor's degree is actually in radiation health physics, which is just so relevant to what I do today. But I guess that just tells people that, you can start somewhere and end up in all sorts of different places in your life. Workforce Development Council is similar to the STEM Action Center. We sit under the Executive Office of the Governor. In Idaho, we've got a 37-member council who oversees workforce development efforts across a multitude of partners and education. And, in a nutshell, what we do, the work of the council, it's all about helping Idahoans get into the careers that they want and putting them on the path to prosperity. We also make sure that our employers have the highly educated, highly skilled talent that they need to thrive today and into the future. We do that by bringing cohesion, subject matter expertise, funding to set things in motion for our partners throughout the state.
Awesome. Great work. And Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that is being done over at Commerce.
Yeah, thanks, Crispin. So I'm Eric Forsch. I oversee the Office of Broadband for the Department of Commerce. So I've been in this position for close to a year and been with the department for about 9 years on various economic development efforts and different roles within the department. So with the Department of Commerce and with our overall goal is to kind of help improve communities throughout the state of Idaho. Through either bringing jobs into the state from outside the state, helping existing communities grow and expand, helping communities export and developing infrastructure, or in the case of my role is to help these communities get better access to broadband and connect with the world. So that's really what our efforts have been around. We just worked on a brand new, completed in December, a $38 million broadband grant program that covered or impacted 83 projects across the state in more than 100 communities and connecting close to 30,000 households. So it's been really, really great work. And like Wendi, based on my education background, I did the great pivot where I took my education and pivoted into a different role. I'm a humanities major. So, as Wendi said, the great thing about that is just because what you studied in school doesn't mean you're locked into that for the rest of your life. And you can do a wide range of things with, some great education.
Awesome. Thank you for those amazing intros. So our first question here is for Wendi. So how important is having a STEM skilled workforce to Idaho's overall economic prosperity?
Incredibly important to Idaho's economic prosperity. Today the workforce in Idaho, our employers have had to adapt to tremendous changes in technology, and jobs that used to be manual labor in the past are now require a lot of technical skills. And when we look across the state at our highest demand jobs, so jobs that pay well, that are in a high supply and so forth, 19 out of the top 20 of them require some form of STEM skills. And these jobs, jobs that are, in the tech sector and it, requires STEM skills are expected to grow by, over 16% by 2028. So, whereas, 10, 15 years ago, STEM was, you kind of thought about STEM occupations. Now it's STEM skills, and they're integrated into nearly every job. One of the things when you look at some of the trends nationally, coding skills. A couple of years ago, coding skills, there was a report done by Burning Glass Technology that coding skills were requested in 20% of all of the job postings in 2016. But when you take and look at those job postings and pull out the ones that pay over $57,000 a year, it increased to 50%. And it wasn't just, that they're hiring programmers, it's that some coding skills were needed in order to do that job. And I can assure you that, electricians and, folks working in our forest products industry in North Idaho and our food processing industry in Southern Idaho, they all are touching, these high-tech systems, and they need STEM skills. So just incredibly important to our economy, Crispin.
It sounds like it's a certain kind of literacy and a certain kind of fluency that feeds into these high-paying roles, especially. And that sort of touches on some of the work that Eric is doing over at Commerce. So Eric, tell us a little bit about how improved access to broadband will affect the work of students and especially the workforce in general.
No, thanks, Crispin. It is really important because I think is what we're seeing, especially now with COVID, is that broadband and access to broadband is so crucial just to learn and to get an education. I remember a couple of years ago talking with a student that lived outside Moscow, for example, and this student had problems doing their homework at home. So you think about, because of a lack of broadband access, there was a lack of broadband and poor cell phone coverage in their community. So even though, they could go to school every day and have a computer, it's like their learning at home was restricted. So you think about these sorts of students who have great ideas and they're out, you have people who are working on farms or, working a wide variety, as jobs just as kids, because maybe they're in 4-H and they're raising cattle and looking to sell them every year. You think about the sort of skills that they get and the kind of like the entrepreneurial spirit that kind of develops from that. And maybe they think about a way to do it better that involves, like maybe they need to invent something to be more efficient and they're looking to create a business, or again, just wanting to go into, they want to go into the dairy industry down the road. But again, as Wendi pointed out, those are becoming further automated. You have dairy industries across Idaho where you have the cows have RFID tags in there. So they're scanned everywhere and every step of the process. So the whole system is becoming more automated, and it's also creating, which is the great thing, different sorts of jobs. But those, as Wendi pointed out, those jobs require more technology. And I think, and with that, you definitely need more broadband access in these communities to allow, I think, to students to kind of explore different opportunities. From things that's just as basic as allowing kids to play Minecraft and learning how to build things at a young age, but also, learning how to make things and learning how to kind of communicate and explore different things around the world and talk to different people. It's crucial.
And that ties into a story that I had mentioned in a previous interview this week of a robotics student in Jerome who's finding ways to integrate sort of coding and that computer science, those computer science technology and skills to their family's dairy farm over in the Magic Valley. So it's rapidly evolving in all sorts of fields. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, you even think about opportunities like there's a company in Salmon that does cybersecurity. So to Wendi's point about going into different fields are, like such as definitely cybersecurity. Again, these all require STEM skills, right? You need to have some programming experience, and like there's a company up there that's training people locally and then allows them to work globally. This is the sort of opportunities that are out there for a lot of Idahoans. That these are things that I wouldn't have conceived of 10 years ago, but now they are. And again, but with a cybersecurity company who wants to work with companies from around the world to help them with their cybersecurity issues, you need very good, very reliable broadband in order to kind of do that sort of thing. So all these things are kind of interwoven together.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Now, looking out at the state of Idaho broadly, we've heard that there are more and more STEM skills required for a variety of fields. And I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest sectors of our STEM economy, and what sorts of things would help boost the work being done in our STEM economy? Wendi, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, actually, Eric, that my fourth grader put you up to that comment about Minecraft, right? That we need
Probably.
to.
I did get a message about it, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with our economy, I mean, we, just in 2020, we saw an average of, over 2,600 new job openings in STEM fields. And that's 22% of all of the job openings in Idaho that last year. I mentioned some of the industries, previously. I mean, everybody thinks tech, right? You think IT, you think, software development, cybersecurity, and those types, but financial, in healthcare. I mean, think about the data analytics. I mean, think about just what through this pandemic, what we've had to do to, increase the usage of data in healthcare to, make sure that, we are, able to continue to operate our society, and, food processing, nuclear manufacturing. I mean, we've just got some awesome, gems in Idaho within our industries, but technology is just really taking them, to a new level and stressing them to a point, because if the workforce can't keep up with that, then our employers have to make hard decisions. So, one of the things that we need to do, to help continue to grow and boost our economy. I mean, obviously, Eric hit the nail on the head with the broadband, right? We have to invest in broadband, but we also need to continue to invest in education, and we have to help education to be more nimble to respond to those changes in technology. One of the things that the council's been working on over the past year with commerce and with IACI, with the Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry, is a talent pipeline management initiative. And it's a methodology. It leverages supply chain management to look at how do you develop a workforce? How do you develop that talent pipeline? And starts with employers, right? It gets the employers sitting together and helping to map out the demands and the skills that they need so that they can provide clear guidance to education and help education to be able to respond in a more timely manner. So, we've got to make those investments. We've got to tighten those connections, create the opportunities for employers to lead, and show us, government, education, workforce partners, where we need to be investing resources to help support them. Otherwise, we're going to miss the mark.
Absolutely. And you sort of touched on the partnership between all of these different groups. And that's something that we've been hearing from industry throughout the week, is just that a project done by a business is not done in a vacuum. It's done in collaboration with different agencies and different groups in order to actually make a project or initiative happen, in order to do the work that we need to have done here in Idaho. Awesome. So thank you for that.
And just I'll build on that, Crispin, too. I think the key word there is it takes a village. And that's kind of like our mantra, I think, within state government. I know that's the way we operate with projects. We look to we look towards partnering with STEM Action Center. We look towards partnering with Workforce Development Council, Department of Labor, all the stuff that we do to try to make Idaho a better place. It's all about partnership and collaboration. You have to partner with the businesses and those communities, and it's only together because we're such a small state, but we're able to be nimble because of those partnerships. It's really key, and I agree with Wendi too when she talked about investing in education. In all my years with Department of Commerce, all my conversations with business, and when I talk to communities and they're very interested in getting new business to come in, the conversations I always have, even now before I get to the broadband conversation, is, do you have enough workers for this company? A business is not going to set up shop without, it's kind of like a plant. You can't just put a plant in a pot by itself and expect it to grow. You have to have soil and fertilizer and then water and give it some sunshine and some love, hopefully, and maybe avoid dogs, to that whole scenario as well. And then it will grow and get larger. And maybe if it's a delicious orange tree, you get little, clementines from it, whatever. But the key is that, Wendy's right. You have to invest in education to build that foundation so that you can give these companies the opportunities to say, oh, hey, I'm looking to start my business. Here's a pool of workers. Now I want to take advantage of them. Like, you've seen the growth of like fintech and even like the tech environment in Boise, and they've really taken, it's paid dividends because you have a growing cluster of workers, and we're looking at, I know, cybersecurity and obviously growing that market. Same thing with Magic Valley, and you look at food manufacturing. All those things only happen because you have those workers who are there, and I think that. And you've built up a large cluster, which allows other companies to look at it. You look at like the success of Chobani, followed by Cliff Bar, followed by McCain. All these things kind of, they stack on top of each other for a reason, because they recognize that there's workers there that they can all kind of partner with and collaborate on, and you're not starting from scratch. The brilliant thing, I guess, about broadband is those borders start breaking down a little bit to a certain extent, right? You have a little bit more flexibility, and move with people. That's sometimes a good thing, I think. Sometimes you have, sometimes I think you have some jobs here that might be a little too restrictive because they're a little specialized. And maybe now with COVID and the opportunities to work from home, maybe that becomes a little bit more flexible, so that you're not going to worry about someone who's in Idaho having to leave to go to someplace else to go, because maybe they can now work remotely. So there's some kind of neat opportunities that might come from the work from home in like landscape now that wasn't there before.
Awesome. And a word that I keep hearing from the both of you in that response is investment, and our continued investment in building these partnerships, in building our workforce, and in investing in our education. So my next question to the both of you is, what are the requests for that investment looking like in the work that you're doing? What kind of requests are you seeing, Wendi?
So we've been, so the Workforce Development Council oversees the state's Workforce Development Training Fund, and we have opportunities under the training fund for employers to apply directly for grants, for industry sector grants, innovation grants, and outreach projects. And, just in the last 18 months, we have funded over $1.5 million in sector grants for cybersecurity across a couple of partners. And that has just been one area where I think that there is enormous opportunity for Idaho to really build its core competencies, its infrastructure in cyber with the National Lab and, other, amazing companies that we have in the state. But building that cyber ready workforce, it's not just about the person that is responsible for the IT infrastructure being, cyber aware and knowledgeable. It's about the financial people. It's about all of us who get emails and aren't supposed to click on those attachments, right? So one of the projects that we funded was Boise State's Cyber for All certificate program, and it's a 12 credit program that can be integrated into any academic degree, but it can also be done as a non-credit program for, companies that need to train, parts of their workforce to, have more of that cyber awareness and be part of that overall, company strategy to protect themselves. So cybersecurity has been, big. We've been very involved with STEM Action Center and others on work-based learning. And so apprenticeships, the council this past summer received a $2.5 million grant from U.S. Department of Labor to scale youth apprenticeship. So we can work with 16 to 24-year-olds and connecting them into apprenticeships. And Department of Labor and Career and Technical Education also have grants to scale apprenticeships. So we've got $6 million coming into the state to help scale apprenticeship. And most people think about apprenticeship and they immediately go to the trades. But what we're doing is trying to scale apprenticeship in other industries. So looking at IT, at, advanced manufacturing and other industries, how do we use that model of training to grow our workforce? So that's kind of where we're, work-based learning and helping to connect folks to opportunities sooner, especially with our youth apprenticeship initiative, so that, if you figure out what you're passionate about, let's get you going and let's find the right post-secondary pathway for you. And let's make sure that everything that you do just stacks and builds upon one another so that, if you're not ready to bite off that full computer science degree today, you can go into a cyber apprenticeship and, you end up with maybe an associate's degree that can stack into that computer science degree that can go into the PhD if that's where you want to end up down the road.
Awesome. So. Yeah, I'm super excited about all that huge amount of investment that we're seeing in those apprenticeship programs. And for the Cyber Aware program, I am sure that IT professionals across the state are super, super grateful that not everyone is going to come to them so often with some fairly easy IT questions. Yeah, and that sort of feeds into what are we seeing over on the commerce end, both in relation to broadband and maybe some broader initiatives as well.
Yeah, so Crispin, we, as I mentioned before, with our $38 million in broadband grants that we utilized under this from the CARES Act money the state received, we definitely, I think, encouraged a lot of employment into the construction industry and into the IT and communication sectors. I know that from my work and from hearing from several internet service providers, they were pretty stressed to find workforce in that area, and they were scrambling to find subcontractors as well who could do the digging, because when you're building out broadband infrastructure, it's not just putting servers into rooms. It's also, and goes back to Wendy's point. You're talking about this huge ecosystem. It's like, oh well, I actually need city planners. I need to kind of help map out, and engineers to map out where things are go, how things are going to fit together. I need people who can manage and do the actual work of digging and managing the, where you're digging the, tearing up the roads, which roads to tear up, how to avoid the existing infrastructure. And then I need people who are experienced in skilled trades to kind of do all that work as well. So there's a whole lot of different components that are involved just to kind of get these projects over the line. And we certainly saw a lot of that. And I certainly, with the work and potential money that's coming down the pipeline, even from, potentially from the state, but also from the federal side, there's going to be a lot more money in broadband infrastructure investment this year. I don't see that ending. I see a continual amount of interest and workers being in demand for those types of jobs. And especially when you look at housing construction too. But and then to Wendy's point too, we see healthcare, especially related to maybe opportunities that might come from telehealth. So what sort of opportunities are there, especially you look at rural Idaho with like mental health opportunities. So again, like how you're able to kind of help service and meet with a wide range of clients without having to spend 6 hours in a car driving to one, remote clinic. Now you could maybe do like mental health consultations, from one location and talk to a whole, a wide range of clients throughout the day. So there's some really good opportunities that, present job opportunities, and then also will be like are there to kind of help improve Idaho, right, and the lives of Idahoans in those rural communities.
Yeah, you're building out a full utility, basically.
Yeah,
And
what can I say?
that takes all forces to combine together to build that out and create, like you mentioned, these sort of positive externalities for Idahoans to access care, to access even entertainment and recreation that we all engage in using the internet. So expanding those services across the state is a great step to improving our quality of life broadly.
Yep.
Awesome. So Wendi, back to you. What in your conversations with employers, with people who are partnering on things like apprenticeships, what are some of the skills that these employers are looking for here in Idaho?
So, they vary. It varies by industry. But one of the things over the summer, we did a survey of employers to look at, what the pandemic, was doing to their workforce, what, the skills that they needed, last January, what had changed and what kind of skills were they needing, now in order to adapt to the pandemic and to new business models. And from a tech standpoint, things like user experience, design and programming and all of those technical skills that you would expect them to say were there. But the interesting thing was what they said about the professional skills, or sometimes what people refer to as the soft skills, and quite frankly, the employers weighed those skills equally as important. So trustworthiness, problem solving, teamwork and collaboration, communication skills, all of that is equally important. And when I think about how does somebody best develop those types of skills, it's in doing projects, it's in work-based learning, having that chance to experience something and learn what works and what doesn't work. Because when we're not given the opportunity to fail, then we don't learn. We don't grow from those experiences. So the tech skills, the hard skills are super important, but those professional skills, we can't underestimate how valuable, how important those are, and what more we need to do to make sure that that our youth especially has the opportunity to develop those, and they can do that through STEM activities in school and Idaho codes and different things where they get a chance to work in teams and start building that type of skill set.
Absolutely. Applying their learning in ways that really develop these skills. I can say firsthand that some of the programs that we run here at the STEM Action Center have exploded in the ways that students are learning some of these 21st century skills in combination with these STEM skills and STEM projects.
Yep. It's not enough to have one or the other. You've got to have both.
Absolutely. So then, Eric, you've sort of touched a bit on some of the opportunities related to some of these potentially like telehealth or work from home, work remotely opportunities. So do you see these trends in sort of the changing workplace, the virtual workplace, continuing into the future? And how have we seen that already? And maybe, Wendi, you can chime in too.
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic, and it's kind of in a bit of a gray zone. Like you're entering a little bit of fog on how things will shake out. I think that I've heard predictions ranging from 30 to 40% of workers who now work from home will continue to do so permanently. I was talking with the city of McCall, and they were hearing an example of someone who just bought a house in McCall to live there permanently and just moved from and was working at Intel. And Intel had completely changed their HR policies, which is something that we've seen. It's it's been common among and this is primarily among knowledge workers. And the people whose job sets allow them to kind of work remotely. But a lot of companies before COVID didn't have HR policies in place or programs or techniques to kind of allow people to kind of collaborate remotely. Those things have changed. And I think I love Wendy's point actually about kids getting them to work remotely. The benefit of this working remotely too is you think about education and even allowing people who are doing like remote learning in the community college arena. Like a lot of people who have day jobs and then they have to take classes late at night, but maybe education will do a little bit of catching up and a little bit of be a little bit more flexible now, and kind of thinking about using different tools to kind of help these kids collaborate when they're home, so they can kind of talk and work on, to Wendy's point, work on projects together where that involve STEM, and allow them to kind of explore and create things and build things together. So again, they're building not only their experience and they're getting knowledge, especially in the STEM sciences, but they're also developing those soft skills, which is really crucial. Because one of the challenges about working remote and working from home permanently for people is that, again, this is something we talked about before, is that you don't interact with people as much. So how do you develop those soft skills, which are so important as well to people's career development? So you kind of have to find out ways, and I think this is going to be the big challenge, is how do we navigate that, and what does that look like in the future?
Awesome. Some great points there. So then taking into consideration all that we've discussed and all the work that we are doing and seeing throughout the state to meet the needs of virtual learning, to develop that pipeline, that talent pipeline into these high demand STEM skills, what are some of the successful projects or creative solutions that you've seen implemented throughout the state? Wendi, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I talked about apprenticeship and what we're doing to scale apprenticeship. Another one that's been a partnership between the STEM Action Center and the Workforce Development Council has been our teacher externship program. And I think, I think it's an amazing opportunity. Exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
When we started this program 2 summers ago, we had 16 teachers who were placed into 200-hour externships over the summer. And, the expectation was that they were going to it wasn't a job shadowing experience. It was, they were going to go in and do a real job. And they were also going to be exposed to all of the different workforce needs that particular company, that host had, so that they would be able to, have a broader knowledge level of occupations that are available, and understanding what employers are looking for, so they can bring that back to the classroom and communicate that to the kiddos that they're teaching. And I'm just going to tell you the story about our first extern. She was a first grade teacher from Nampa and did her externship with the council. And she went back. We got an email from her maybe in October after school had started back up. And she said, in first grade, she teaches about community. And in the past, she would, they would talk about their community and what kind of jobs are there in their community. And she said, she had about 10 jobs that she would talk about, policemen, firemen, doctors, nurses, just kind of those, the classics. And she said, this year, we're building a paper bag city. And each week we talk about the occupations it takes to build a different part of that city. And so we'll talk about the roads, and you need engineers and heavy equipment operators and, all of these things. And she said the experience gave her such a broader perspective to be able to go back and say, here are these opportunities that these kids wouldn't be exposed to otherwise. And you think, first grade, do they really need that? Well, yeah, because that's when their imagination gets sparked. And then, as they go through grade school and into middle school, they have a chance to explore those different opportunities and see what makes the most sense for them. But the externship program and our employers that participate in the externship program, one of the criteria for that program is that the employer has to has to agree that they will not hire the teacher. And it's a challenge because they see how incredibly talented Idaho's teachers are, and what value they can bring to the workplace. But we need them to go back and teach so that they can continue to provide those experiences and those, when I was working at, this manufacturing plant, we had to do this project and we used math, this way. And they're able to just make it more real. So
we need first grade teachers like your extern to start to build that awareness of that, how to build that city, so we can have civil engineers to start to build out things like broadband infrastructure.
Right. Exactly.
I just want to echo Crispin Wendy's comment, because I agree with her. I think that program is so fantastic. And I'm lucky because my job allows me to travel all across Idaho and learn all these cool things, all these different jobs that that are being done in Idaho. I tell people all the time, hey, do you know Cliff Bars are made in Idaho? They go, no, I didn't know that. And so, and that's a pretty common employer in the Magic Valley that you can buy on store shelves. So it's kind of, helping educators. I think giving them that awareness is one of the best things we can do, because again, it just allows them to, when they're talking with students, to say, look at all these really neat things you can do with your life. There's so many fantastic options out there. And I think what's super interesting is that with Zoom, and actually, so I know that I was kind of, there's definitely challenges, and you don't have the same experience with having have video calls all the time. But one of the things that is super interesting is the ability for lots of people in different areas to get together and have meetings at the same time from all across the country, or just all across Idaho, which is something that we've really, as an agency, really appreciated. It's easier for me to have, meetings with businesses and talk to them over the phone. And there's some flexibility that's associated with it. And I think to Wendy's point, there's some opportunities there that, especially with teachers, that allow them to kind of have a little bit more of that exposure. And certainly the key part of that, though, is I would add is one, is that we need more broadband. I think what's interesting is when we, I think early on in the pandemic, Zoom came out and, said, it takes 2 megabytes upload to run Zoom. Well, if you have a community and your broadband speed, the maximum available to you is 25 megabytes down, 3 up, well, then you have 1 megabyte up, and that's it after you're running a Zoom program. So, and that's if you're getting a strong signal at that speed. So there's a lot of challenges that come with having this technology. And that's, but again, as to Wendy's point, there's so many more opportunities that come from it when you do. And of course, then we just need to and we definitely need to put as much money into education too, to kind of give all the teachers all the support they can possibly get.
It takes the village.
Right.
So I want to put a quick plug in, because our teacher externship program applications are open right now for entities that want to host an extern this coming summer. You go to the STEM Action Center's website, so stem.idaho.gov. Oh, look at that. Good job, Crispin. stem.idaho.gov, and click on the externship link, and you can fill out a form, and then we will reach out to you and help match you with an educator for this summer. And I guarantee you will, the experience will be far more than you expect.
Awesome. Thank you for that plug. And folks know where they can find out more about the STEM Action Center. Wendi, where can they find out more about the work being done by the Workforce Development Council?
Sure. Our website is WDC, Workforce Development Council, wdc.idaho.gov.
Awesome. And Eric, where can folks keep up to speed on the broadband initiative? Oh, looks like you're muted. Hold on just one sec.
Thank you. Sorry, I went the whole time and then at the last moment. So if they go to our Idaho Commerce webpage, and then they can commerce.idaho.gov/broadband, they can find everything they need to know about broadband and our efforts in Idaho. And of course, if you come across people that are dealing with a lack of broadband connectivity, have them reach out and we can see what opportunities are out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. Is there anything else that you want to let the folks watching at home know about the work that is being done in Idaho and the work that's being done in your organizations?
I would just say that STEM matters, right?
Yeah, I would echo that. Keep up, like the STEM Action Center does such great work, Crispin, and we appreciate all you guys are doing in Idaho and really appreciate it. And yeah, anything we can do to help your efforts, we'll do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your continued partnership and support for STEM education and building our STEM workforce here in Idaho. We really appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you so much, Wendi and Eric, for joining us today.
Thanks, Crispin.
Awesome. Well, that was Wendi Secrist, the Executive Director of the Idaho Workforce Development Council, and Eric Forsch, the Broadband Development Manager for Idaho Commerce. Thank you all for watching and joining us for this latest edition of Check-In for Idaho's virtual STEM Matters celebration. Keep in tuned on the Idaho STEM Action Center's Facebook feed for continued interviews and other updates related to STEM in Idaho. We will catch you next time.